Alright, it's time for a test of courage after a long while. Go and hit on that foreign beauty over there. Don't let fear of failure hold you back. It seems like James has mistaken the foreign woman, who is looking around at the entrance, for a staff member or something. That's not passable. We're not in that kind of relationship. James, not grasping the intention behind my words, forcibly pulled my arm, saying, "What are you talking about? This is exactly the time to go for broke." And so, he dragged me over to her, but upon noticing me, she raised her hand and headed our way. "Mr. Johnson, I've been looking for you." "What? My name is Michael Johnson. I was raised in a single-parent household, not exactly wealthy. Yet, my mother worked from dawn till dusk to ensure I never lacked for anything, managing somehow to scrape together enough money for our basic needs. When I was in kindergarten, oblivious to my mother's struggles, I would insist on playing in the park all day on the rare occasions we had time off. Looking back, my mother never showed signs of fatigue and always indulged me. That's why I believe I was able to grow up without becoming twisted, despite our impoverished life. When I think about it, I can only feel gratitude towards my mother. Speaking of gratitude, there was an important friend I should be thankful for during my high school days as well. His name was Tyler. He was always there for me during tough times, never letting me give up or despair, always offering words of encouragement. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was because of Tyler that I was able to make it through high school. Unable to afford private school due to my family circumstances, I studied desperately. I repeatedly visited my teachers with questions about subjects I was poor at, like math and science, and spent countless hours in the library working through the past papers. Thanks to that effort, I managed to get into a fairly decent public high school closest to my home. There were other public schools I could have attended without studying that hard, but considering helping out at home and saving on transportation costs, a nearby school was the best option. Additionally, the high school officially prohibits part-time jobs, but it was confirmed that exceptions could be made for family circumstances upon application. Having decided to work part-time while studying to contribute financially to my household upon entering high school, I was relieved that this wish could finally be fulfilled. Upon entering high school, I was worried about making friends, but that fear was unfounded. By chance, Tyler was in the same class, sitting right in front of me. A simple greeting led to us naturally spending more time together. Tyler had a similar vibe to me, not the type to lead or unify a class, which made me feel at ease. As I was finally getting accustomed to school about a month into my enrollment, I became a target. James, who was somewhat of a leader in our class, seemed to have pegged me as a perfect victim for his teasing. "Hey, Michael, right, you always seem to be eating such pitiful meals, and your lunch is always the same too." Around the middle of lunch break, James, along with his entourage, started hassling me and Tyler. James stood at the pinnacle of the class's social pyramid, having taken charge of various things since the beginning of the school year. While everyone was still tentatively getting to know each other, James quickly emerged as a leader, gathering the more outgoing members of the class. I, fully aware of my place at the bottom, had never spoken to James's group. So, it was a surprise when he suddenly started talking to me. I was bewildered and unable to respond. James's comments drew reactions from the entire classroom. Classmates looked at me, then at my lunchbox. Their stares were painful and embarrassing. "Come on, say something. It's like I'm bullying you unilaterally here." Contrary to his words, his expression was cold, clearly not welcoming any form of retaliation. Failing to respond, he seemed bored, but then quickly found amusement again. "Besides, we've just started school last month. Why is your shirt so worn out already?" James and his followers scrutinized me from head to toe, then burst into laughter, clutching their stomachs. "You don't have holes in your socks, do you? Mind if I check?" Although they didn't go as far as to make me take off my shoes, James's comment sent chills down my spine. Without the money for a new school uniform, my family had to rely on my mother asking around until she could find a second-hand one from a graduate student. I managed to get my school uniform without spending any money, but the shirts and school-designated socks I had worn for years were worn out. Some even had holes. I was used to wearing hand-me-downs that were falling apart in elementary school, but that led to me being teased in the later grades of elementary school. Originally outgoing, such experiences gradually turned me into a shy and reserved person. Speaking of which, you two are always together. How birds of a feather flock together, I guess. Everything you own is so uncool. And don't tell me you just roll out of bed with your hair like that. Use some hair product at least and make an effort with your appearance before you show up. With that, James and his friends doubled over laughing. It's not that I had no interest in fashion or was indifferent to what I wore. But the truth is, even spending money on new items or hair products felt like a luxury. I bit my lip in frustration, but of course, I couldn't talk back. You shouldn't worry about him. He just wants to stand out. It's much more troublesome if you react strangely and entertain him. Tyler's words were the only solace I had. Even though James kept picking on me, being in the same class as Tyler for 3 years allowed me to continue going to school. Tyler never flinched no matter what James said, but I wasn't as strong as him. Yet, he always encouraged me, saying, "It's okay, they are just playing into their hands if you care. Ignoring them is the best revenge." With Tyler at school, I could endure anything. The hard times were when I was alone. One day, while working part-time at a convenience store near my home, I heard a familiar voice. Without thinking, I stopped stocking shelves and tried to hide, but the owner of the voice didn't miss me. "Hey, are you seriously working here? And you are trying to run away without greeting the customers when they come in?" Turning around, I saw James laughing with his friends looking at me. What is he here? James's hometown is 2 stations away from mine, and it's in the opposite direction from our school. As if answering my unspoken question, James approached and declared, "I have a lot of friends, so I get all sorts of information. I heard a loser breaking the school rules, working a part-time job despite the ban. What's it gonna be? Want me to snitch to the school, or will you hand over your earnings as hush money? I have permission from the school, and I can give you any money." "Chill, man. I'm just joking. Don't look so serious." Saying that with a laugh, he walked away. Having had such a high school life, when the invitation to the 20th reunion arrived, I had no intention of attending, to be frank. I couldn't even bring myself to notify them of my absence upon seeing the invitation with the high school's name on it. So I just ignored it, eventually forgetting about the reunion invitation altogether. Then, one day, a familiar name appeared on my cell phone. I excitedly answered the call. "Tyler, it's been a while. How have you been?" "I've been good. How about you?" We had occasionally kept in touch after graduating from high school, but I started working right after graduation, and Tyler was busy with university studies and probably made new friends in a new place. Gradually, we stopped contacting each other. Hearing Tyler's voice after such a long time made me genuinely happy. After catching up, Tyler brought up the main topic. "By the way, you received the reunion invitation, right? Have you replied yet?" "Oh, yeah, it did arrive. To be honest, I wasn't really feeling up for it, so I've just left it." I was surprised that Tyler brought up the reunion, and my tone naturally fell as I hadn't been positive about the reunion myself. I assumed Tyler, like me, had no fond memories of high school and wouldn't attend. I was curious about his seemingly different attitude. "Are you going to the reunion? I thought for sure you wouldn't." "Yeah, back in high school, I couldn't wait to get out of there, but maybe my perspective changed after college and starting work." "How so?" "Well, we were still kids in high school, right? There were plenty of unpleasant things in human relations, but we were all immature. Then in college, I met all sorts of people, and as a working adult, I started enjoying meeting different people. It's been interesting lately. From Tyler's words, I could imagine he had various experiences and good encounters throughout his life. I respected him and found my feelings about the reunion starting to change. You know, I replied to the reunion invitation because I thought it had been nice to see you after so long. Why not join without overthinking it? Tyler, much more sociable and cheerful than in high school, was pushing me forward just like old times. I too am looking forward to seeing him after such a long time. Perhaps now, I can even share a laugh with everyone else. Got it. I'll find the invitation and reply tomorrow that I'll attend. We ended the call, both looking forward to our reunion. On the day of the reunion, I arrived at the venue with a mix of excitement and nervousness at the prospect of seeing old friends again. What turned my nervousness into joy was hearing my best friend's voice. Michael, it's been so long. The last time we met was probably at the graduation ceremony. We reveled in our reunion after so many years, our conversation blossoming. While there were groups happily reuniting and expanding all around the venue, our high school life hadn't involved wide social circles, so there weren't many approaching us. Should we try reaching out to our classmates? You never know, it might lead to some great connections. But then again, Michael, you might not be in need of that kind of thing. Tyler had been focused on his career and, as he had mentioned over the phone, wasn't married nor in a romantic relationship. Perhaps he was looking forward to this aspect of the reunion as well. While we were enjoying our conversation, someone called out to us from behind. Is that Michael and Tyler? Long time no see. It was James. I felt a slight resurgence of the unpleasant feelings from high school, but not as much as I'd expected. This might have been due to James's softer expression and tone. Maybe, as Tyler said, we had all grown up. James didn't carry an aggressive aura, and it seemed we might be able to get along now. I replied with a bit of nervousness. James, long time no see. Are you still living around here? James, eager as if he had been waiting for me to ask, began to share his story with a happy look. Nat, I'm in New York now. Work keeps me busy, so I hardly get back here, but I took the day off just to make it today. His conversation then shifted towards his job. He talked about working for a major corporation listed on the prime market. How he was making more money than he could spend. And how he was popular at mixers. His boasting seemed endless. As I was getting tired of listening, James turned the conversation to me. So, Michael, which company are you with? I doubt you'd know it even if I told you. So it's not a listed company. You're wearing a decent suit, so I thought you landed a good job. Reminds me, you were always slacking off in high school, busy with part-time jobs and all. James scanned me from head to toe, then continued in a condescending tone. You're not married yet, right? You know from your own experience, kids from poor families struggle a lot. You definitely shouldn't make the mistake of having kids. James looked down on me with the same expression from high school, laughing mockingly. I felt a surge of discomfort, finding the conversation unbearable. I didn't respond to his words. Perhaps finding pleasure in my silence, he continued. All right, it's time for a test of courage. Go and hit on that foreign beauty over there. Don't let the fear of failure hold you back. It seems James mistook the foreign woman at the entrance, who was looking around, for staff or something. At his ignorant remarks, I couldn't help but be dumbfounded. That's not happening. We're not in that kind of relationship. James, failing to grasp my intent, forcibly pulled my arm, saying, What are you talking about? You studied hard even with just a high school education. You should be able to communicate with her. You don't have a girlfriend anyway, right? This is the time to go for broke. As James dragged me towards her, the woman noticed me and raised her hand, heading our way. Mr. Johnson, I've been looking for you. Surprised by her reaction, James asked with an unexpected look. What's this, Michael? You know her, what's the connection here? She's Isabella, my secretary at the company. His eyes widened in clear surprise at my words. Your company? What do you mean? Are you Mr. Johnson, the president? His reaction was so unexpected that I couldn't help but burst out laughing. In this situation, who else could it be? Actually, I started my own business after working for a while post-graduation. Of course, it's not a major corporation like yours, but I'm considering going public. James's response sounded almost like sour grapes. Starting a business is common these days, right? But most of them fail, don't they? Yay, that's true. But I'm working hard to ensure that doesn't happen. Currently, we have over 100 employees, and each of them has a family, so I'm determined to make it a success. He listened to my words with clenched teeth, then turned to Isabella. You should quit such an unstable company. I'd like to get to know you, so how about going out for dinner with me sometime? Isabella didn't seem to understand his clumsy attempt at Spanish, so I translated for her. James was taken aback by my fluent Spanish, but Isabella, after hearing my words, smiled gently and spoke to James in English like she was admonishing a child. Thank you for your invitation, I appreciate it, but I don't find men who just dress up with accessories and don't try to improve themselves attractive. James seemed overwhelmed by her flawless English. She then addressed him with stern words. You said some terrible things to Mr. Johnson. You might have thought I couldn't understand complicated English, but frankly, it was very unpleasant. I wouldn't dine with someone like you, and if I have free time, I'd rather devote it to Mr. Johnson. After saying that, Isabella smiled at me and said, I'll be waiting in the car, before leaving the venue. James, who had been silent for a while, clenched his fists and looked down. He then muttered something in a low voice. Unable to hear clearly, I just faced James silently. His expression was unreadable. I managed to catch his next words, though his voice was weak and trembling. Why is it always you? At first, I thought I had misheard. I had been looked down upon, but never envied my life. Even though my business is finally on track, this was my third attempt at entrepreneurship. I had started businesses to address issues I identified but had to close them due to poor sales or lack of capability. Despite declaring this company as my last attempt, its survival was initially doubtful. Despite everything, I've managed to get by so far thanks to the flow of time and some good encounters. Even though I've been encouraged to just give up, I've never been envied. Moreover, James had scorned me to no end during high school. So, it was unthinkable for him to say such things to me. Before I knew it, Tyler was standing beside me. He looked at James with a puzzled expression. What did he say? I couldn't quite catch it. James slowly lifted his face. His expression was full of anger, and I felt an intense hatred. Why is it always you who gets the good time? James's voice was on the verge of tears as he confronted me. Confused, I responded sharply without thinking. Good time. Sorry, but you treated me horribly. Remember, I won't let you forget that. Do you have any idea how miserable you made me feel? For the first time, I was able to express my grievances to James, something I couldn't do back then. Yet, my heart didn't feel lighter. Somehow, James looked more pained than I did. I was bullied like that in middle school. I was a coward. So, to avoid becoming a target again, I desperately looked for someone weaker than me, and that was you. There's so much I want to say in response, but I decided to stay silent and listen to his words until the end. I attacked to show others I was superior and to reassure myself. I actually wanted to be friends with someone like you, but you never got discouraged by my attacks and even made a best friend, enjoying your school life. It made me feel frustrated. And even though I wanted to apologize and be friends, my pride got in the way. James's unexpected confession left me unsure how to react. I had no idea how much he had suffered in middle school. Even now, I find it hard to believe that he wanted to be friends with me back then. In contrast to my loss for words, Tyler spoke up in a stern voice. Just because you wanted to be friends doesn't give you the right to attack Michael, and nothing you say now can heal the wounds Michael suffered back then. James was left speechless by Tyler's words, unable to utter a single sound as he hung his head in silence. Tyler pressed on, further confronting James. And yet, you talk about the past like that, which is just cowardly. I was right there seeing how much Michael was hurt, and I have no interest in hearing the excuses of a man who never apologized. At Tyler's words, James sharply looked up. I wanted to apologize today, but seeing you in a nice suit and seemingly more successful than me, jealousy got the better of me, James said, looking down again. Hearing this, I shared my own thoughts. I've always envied you, James, for your leadership and influence. I often thought how fun school life would have been if I could have been friends with someone like you. I wanted to be friends, but I thought someone like me could never be, especially since you were always picking on me. If we had understood each other's feelings, we probably could have been good friends. Though I intended to keep the conversation light, I ended up tearing up. I could hear James sniffling too. We can go back to the past, even if we wish to. Both Tyler and I suffered a lot during our high school days, and James, carrying the baggage from his middle school experiences, repeated his mistakes in high school. A heavy silence enveloped us, broken by Tyler. A lot of time has passed since then. We've all grown up. Maybe we can get along now. Though I wouldn't be too happy to see you two becoming close. Prompted by Tyler's words, James and I exchanged glances. Then, James turned to both Tyler and me and offered a deep apology. Michael, Tyler, I'm truly sorry. I made a terrible mistake. If you can forgive me, I'd like to be friends, despite everything. Tyler and I exchanged glances, then nodded together. We shook James's hand firmly, accepting his apology. The reunion became a turning point, and the distance between James and us significantly closed. After the reunion, the three of us regularly met to catch up and enjoy a drink together. One day, I brought up a concern I had. I've got something I've been worried about. Don't be so formal, just spit it out. Both James and Tyler listened casually as they sipped their drinks. Gathering my courage, I blurted out to both of them, my face turning red. There's someone I'm interested in. It's Isabella, the secretary you both met, but I've never really been in a serious relationship before, so I don't know what to say. At my serious inquiry, Tyler burst into laughter. James looked at me with an incredulous expression. Come on, I'm seriously worried here, but I guess someone like me doesn't stand a chance, right? What are you talking about? I'm not exactly a ladies' man either, but even I can tell. Deflated by Tyler's words, I slumped my shoulders. Seeing me like this, James spoke up, seemingly amused. You're misunderstanding something. Even from that brief moment at the reunion, it was clear that Isabella has feelings for you. James and Tyler then began to grill me, asking detailed questions about my interactions with Isabella. Sure, Isabella and I often went out for meals, and there was a fair amount of physical touch between us. I had thought it was just part of our working relationship and cultural differences. But according to them, I might have been mistaken. You're hopeless. I'll teach you step by step, so make sure you properly ask her out on a date next time, James said. Thanks, I'm counting on you, bro. I realized I had the best friends anyone could ask for. As we shared drinks, I felt truly grateful from the bottom of my heart. Years have passed since then. The three of us met up again, stylishly dressed in suits just like we were at the reunion. You look tense. You should be proud at a time like this, James remarked. Exactly. You've never looked better, Tyler added. As I was the only one feeling stiff, the three of us chatted and laughed until a staff member from the venue approached us. I'll be going then. Please take care of things today. Parting from the two, I made my way to the dressing room. Today is my wedding with Isabella. Taking James's advice into account, I confessed to Isabella. Our relationship smoothly progressed from there, and I was even successful in my proposal. These happy days would never have come without James and Tyler's support. From now on, I'll build a new family and work even harder in my job. There might be times when I hit a wall, but that's okay, because I have best friends who will support me whenever I'm in trouble.